A nice group this morning. Happy St. Padlet's Day to those of you who are in attendance. This is a time for us to get together and share some ideas and listen to some ways in which we're using them, and then we'll hopefully have some time at the end for you to consider how you can use Padlet in your upcoming class sessions. So we've got myself, I'm Andrea Cayson. I am an OTL faculty fellow and a professor in the elementary and early childhood department. We've got Eric LePage. Would you like to introduce yourself, Eric?
Yeah, Eric LePage. I usually don't dress down like this, but this is all I've got for green. Eric, I'm the executive director of the Teaching and Technology Center. And Alex?
Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex Machado. I am the graduate assistant in the Teaching and Technology Center, and I'm going to show you some examples of the different Padlets today. So thank you.
All right, Eric, would you like to take it away?
Yeah, sure. So Padlet, I mean, I mentioned this to Andrea as we were getting ready. I am just all on board with Padlet. I started using Padlet earlier this semester, and what a terrific, engaging tool. So we're going to start off with, so Padlet, what is Padlet, right? So it's basically an interactive Post-it board. And you can do a variety of things with it, as Alex is going to demonstrate in a little bit. But it's basically, the nice part of it is it's easy to set up, and really anybody can contribute to it. So we're going to start off by doing a Padlet icebreaker activity. And the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to post in Padlet, and then I'm going to share the link with you so you can post to our Padlet. So give me 1 second here while I do a share screen. And here we go. All right. And like I said, I'll provide you with this link in a moment. So here's our Student Engagement Week icebreaker. And I've provided you with a few different questions here that you can respond to. So what did you recently read or currently reading now? Maybe a TV show you're enjoying, maybe any movies you've seen recently, or podcasts. And to respond to these, what you can do is click the plus sign underneath the heading here. Now, given that I suspect you folks don't have Padlet accounts, that's okay. You can still post anonymously. So I'm going to click the plus sign here, and you'll see here you're presented with a little pop-up here, and you can type in a title, and then basically whatever it is you're Padleting about. I don't even know if that's a verb, but I'm going to use it today. So a book that I've read recently, In the Kingdom of Ice. And this was all about the basically the USS Jeanette back in the 1880s. Tried to make their way to the North Pole, did not succeed. The ship crashed. Well, basically was stuck in ice and then sunk. So in any case, what I could do is I could write about, I enjoyed this book, etc. But in addition to writing text, you can also do a number of other really cool things. So you'll see here, there's some buttons here. So you could upload a file. You can share a web link. You can do a Google search and find some content to include. I could take a selfie right now and include that. And then there's 3 dots here with all of those options, and then a whole bunch more options. So really, some really cool stuff here too. So I could record a really short video of myself talking about In the Kingdom of Ice, maybe just an audio piece recording from my microphone. I can do a screencast. So for any of you folks who have used Screencast-O-Matic before, this is basically like that, but a very limited version. Doesn't allow for too much time. I can do a drawing and share that. I can add a geographic location, which is really neat. And I can link to another Padlet. So in this case, I'm going to do a Google search. And it's searching for In the Kingdom of Ice. If I scroll down here, there's the book. And now I can add in a nice image of the book as part of my Padlet response. And there we go. Given that I have a Padlet account, it recognizes who I am when I post this. Since you folks may not have a Padlet account, and one thing you can do is when you're posting is add a TV show actually I'm watching right now.
Oh yeah,
Creek on Netflix. So my wife and I just started watching a couple of months ago. We're on season
Crazy.
5 now, but really, really funny stuff. So, so I could basically write a response and then just sign it, basically saying Eric. So that way, if I'm posting anonymously, I've still, I can still put my name in there. So I'm going to highlight this URL. I'm going to stop sharing. And I'd like to just do a little icebreaker activity with you folks for just like 5 minutes.
Okay.
But I'm going to put in the chat the web address, and you folks can click on that link. And I'd like you to go out to the Padlet and see if you can post a response. So once again, you're just clicking that plus symbol that's underneath each question. If you get stuck, please ask questions. And it's fascinating too, because like from my perspective, I can almost in a sense see people typing actively. Awesome. Looks like folks are definitely able to post. So that's always a good sign. I heard that Barb and Star was very funny. That's great. Awesome. I love all the different book topics here. This is terrific. I love seeing that folks are adding in some multimedia content too in some of their posts. Cool. All right. Well, while you folks are certainly welcome to continue contributing to the Padlet discussion, but Andrea and I wanted to talk a little bit next about how we've been using Padlet in our own teaching. Andrea, do you want to chat first?
Sure, I'm happy to if I can pull away from the icebreaker, what everyone's reading and watching and listening to. Yeah, so there's so many different ways to use Padlet, and I was talking briefly with Eric ahead of time. One of the things I really love about Padlet is it's very light on professor work to have to put together. There's so many times in my classes that I'll think in the back of my head, oh, we could do a Padlet about this. And so you can almost just continue talking, and in the background, you're creating a Padlet. Or you can say, let's take a quick 2-minute stretch break and mute our screens a moment while everyone is stretching for a moment. You can pull a Padlet together really just like that. So I love the speed and the ease at which you can create and use Padlet. I'll show you one way that I use Padlet at the end of a semester. It was the end of last semester. We had done a book study. So it was myself and 3 other professors got together and did a book study on How to Be Anti-Racist by Tiffany Jewell. And at the end of the semester, we were all considering ways that we could encourage anti-racism, how can we use our power to influence others to be anti-racist. And so we created this Padlet. We created a power tree. And each professor and each student wrote a way in which that they could use their power to influence themselves and others to be anti-racist, and included a picture. And it was just a very powerful experience at the end. And I think one thing that made it so powerful was the ability to either take a screenshot or to upload a picture that you have. It just added a real a level of personal commitment to include that picture. So this was, again, one way that we used it at the very end of the semester. And then we were able to share. You can download and save these Padlets And we posted to our Blackboard links in all of our classes for everyone to be able to look at later. So that
I
was
love
what
that,
I wanted
Andrea.
to share.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have been using Padlet. Well, initially, I was going to use it as an icebreaker activity for a graduate certificate course I'm teaching this semester. And the students loved it so much, they said, why don't you keep doing icebreakers? And so I've been doing icebreakers with Padlet every week. And it's been a great way to like help build community in our online course. Let me see if I can bring up a couple of these here. Okay. So we did something similar one week where we talked about, what TV shows have you been binging on lately? What music has caught your ear? And we did another week where we kind of talked about, books that we've been reading, but it was just really fascinating to see everyone's, different interests. And people were connecting on different interests, like, oh yeah, I've seen that show, and then talking about those things. Let me see here. And then also, nope. I had the other image queued up, but I guess not. But also been using it for a couple of different discussion activities as well. So for example, one of the things that students actually had to do as part of our class is they have to come up with icebreaker activities because it's an education course. And so they used Padlet to brainstorm and come up with all these terrific different types of icebreakers they could do in their own teaching. And it was a great way for them to see each other's ideas, and they added lots of multimedia. It just became a really, really fun exercise. So that's been the thing for me. Like, it's not just an educational tool, it's been a fun tool to use. That's definitely stood out for me. I see Linda just asked a question here. Is Padlet something to be deployed during a synchronous lecture? I would say both. It could be used synchronously or asynchronously. I mean, we're using it synchronously right now, right? But I've also been using it in the course I'm teaching, which is almost entirely asynchronous. So yeah.
So how would you do that if the students are just logging in whenever to do assignments? Where would you post? The way I envision it now, you're posting a Padlet during a Zoom chat. So if you're not Zooming with them, how do you use Padlet?
I'm going to show you actually in a little while a really cool way to bring Padlet right into your Blackboard course sites.
Okay, great, thanks.
So great question.
If you want, I can show another Padlet we've used during synchronous session.
Awesome.
And what we were well, let me set the stage before I show it. We were brainstorming functions of language, so the different ways that elementary students use language in a classroom. And we were just doing a brainstorming at first. But my goal was for students to see 4 key uses of language. So let me share with you the screen. All right, so at the beginning of the session, students were just throwing anywhere on the board their brainstorming ideas for how do we engage elementary students in language in a classroom. So they were just anywhere on this board throwing down their ideas. And again, you can just click anywhere and write your idea. Then I came back as the professor. I stopped sharing. We came back whole group and we talked about the 4 key uses of recount, explain, argue, and discuss. We went back to our Padlet and I said, now let's take these brainstorm ideas that you have and move them under one of these categories. And I'm just moving them right now. I'm not paying attention. So please, I may be putting the wrong thing under the wrong category. But now students are able to go back and categorize all of those brainstorming ideas that they have, move them under the right category. So when we were finished, we ended up with the 4 key uses of language and all of the ideas that they had categorized against those. It was a great brainstorming activity, a way to collect the brainstorming activities in this synchronous remote environment, and then wrap it all up and tie it together with the 4 key uses of language. One thing I will say though, that as the professor, I can move any of these little boxes, but for this particular Padlet, the students could only move the boxes that they created. So that
That's
was another
awesome.
way that we used it.
I think that kind of ties in too with, like, talk about the brainstorming aspect. Like Joyce posed the question, how do you see Padlet used in a face-to-face situation? I could see a couple of different ways. Like, you could, as the instructor, bring up your Padlet on the projection screen and then conduct some sort of brainstorming activity with students, and then just basically throw those up there like we saw with your Padlet there. Or have students work in groups, and each group, maybe one member of each group, has a laptop with them and is posting to the class Padlet.
Mhm.
Andrew, do you want me to take any other questions before you show any other stuff?
Let's see. I was just reading through the questions to see if there's something else. Yeah, and thinking about the face-to-face class, before I've done brainstorming kind of the old school style where I'm standing up with a piece of scrap paper under the doc cam, or I'm writing on the board or something. And I think I will never do that again. Like, as long as students have access or a way, even if it's in groups, like Eric said, to digitally engage in a brainstorming or a concept map activity, we will use Padlet for it. I can no longer see myself standing there and writing down the ideas, or even students coming up to the board or coming up to chart paper to physically write. This is a much more efficient and a much more streamlined way. Let's see, can you show again how you went from material? Oh, I'm happy to. So let me share my screen again. And Kathleen, I believe this is what you were saying, is show again how the boxes, maybe we're here and I was moving the boxes around. You just click on a box. It's like dragging, click and drag. And as the professor, I can move anyone's, well, not as just as the professor, but as the creator of this Padlet, I'm able to move all of the students or any box that's on here. However, for this particular Padlet template, students are only able to move the box that they created. But you just click and drag. So I'm just running my cursor over a box, click on it, and then I can drag it and move it wherever I'd like.
So when you initially set that up, though, because I've only used Padlet and they had to be like in columns, was that a certain template that you used?
This is one of the templates, and I believe Alex is going to share. There's a whole host of templates. And so you'll have to kind of decide ahead of time, what is it I really want to accomplish with this Padlet? And that will help you decide which template do you want to use.
Thank you.
And
Right.
yeah, just to respond to Renee's question. So Renee asks here, is there a way to share that out with everyone in file format? So yeah, hopefully we'll get a chance to show this in a little bit when we show some of the different options you have as the instructor. You can export it as an image file, as a PDF. There might have even been one or two other formats, but yeah. And let's see here. Yeah, you can, I mean, I've got, to George's question, or Scott, do you have multiple Padlets, the professors and each students? You could. So, and this kind of ties into, I think, a question that Linda posed about accounts. So your students don't need an account to use Padlet. As you've seen here, we can post anonymously, but we typically recommend it to students, like, you can get a free Padlet account. And with a free Padlet account, that you can see who posted what within the Padlet. It also allows students to create up to 3 of their own Padlets if they wanted to. So, with you folks, with basically having a faculty license, which I'll talk talk more about in a little bit, you'd have essentially unlimited Padlets. You could create as many as you needed. You can organize them in folders. There's a lot of flexibility there. And let's see here. Lee asks, can students use their mobile devices to enter content in professors' Padlets? Ooh, Lee, that's a good question. Obviously they're tablet or laptop devices, but I haven't tried this with a smartphone. Good question. I'll have to look into that. Alex, you haven't tried it with a smartphone, have you?
No, I was wondering if they have an app, but I don't know if they do.
Yeah, great question though, Lee. I'm gonna have to check that out.
if you want, I will share with you what your dashboard looks like. So when you create a Padlet, it doesn't just disappear, which I like that as well. So these are some of the Padlets I've created with my Bridgewater account. And then this is my Padlet Basic. So Eric's going to go into these details about how do you connect through Bridgewater. But prior to Bridgewater having an account, I just had the free basic Padlet account. And you were only allowed to build like 3 or 4. So I just kept revising Padlets over and over because I didn't want to pay for another subscription to something. But through Bridgewater, we can have unlimited accounts or unlimited Padlets. Correct, Eric? It's unlimited,
That's
right?
correct. Yeah.
So what I'll often do is save these from semester to semester now that we're in the second semester, and then so I'll remember next semester exactly how I want it to look previously, and just to keep the ideas. And then again, you can save these, download them, and post for student reference in your Blackboard account. But also, Eric, is this correct that students, once they participate in one of these Padlets, they've told me that they can continue to see them? But I've never looked at this from a student perspective.
Yeah, they can be able to see them as long as you're making it available to them, publicly available to them.
That's right. Just like right now, here's the one we're doing today, our Student Engagement Week Icebreaker. So I can go back and look at that.
Yeah.
We've also used this for planning purposes. So for example, OTL with our advisory board, we've created a Padlet looking for our ideas for our signature events. So someone was talking about how do you use this asynchronously, and that's what this Padlet is for. Posted a link in an email. Now folks can come back and add their ideas for key signature events at any time. So this is not something that we've done live. It's more of an asynchronous work.
Awesome. And thank you to everyone, Renee, Cynthia, for Alex for popping in and figuring out the mobile piece. So it looks like there is indeed an app. That's great.
Nice. Very nice to know.
And all right, so as a next step, I'm going to show you folks like what your options are when you are creating a class Padlet. And that's going to sort of segue us into Alex showing you talking about the different templates that are available. So give me one moment here to share my screen. Share screen. Okay. All right. So here's my Padlet homepage. And I'm going to click on this button here that says Make a Padlet. I'll just point out here, there's a green button that once you have access to Padlet, you can click on this green button. Really cool. You can see a whole gallery of other Padlets that have been created by folks, probably most likely outside of BSU. You might even find some BSU ones here. And really cool, inspiring stuff. So for example, here's planets of our solar system. I mean, so if you were teaching an astronomy course, you might look at this and say, ooh, I'd like to have my students do something like this. So some really cool ideas to get from the gallery. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to click on Make a Padlet. And so you've got essentially 8 templates to pick from that do all sorts of different stuff that Alex is going to talk about in a moment. I'm going to pick, I'll go with Canvas so we can see the options. All right. So let's see here. So when you create a Padlet, you're presented with this screen. First thing you need to do is create a title. So let's say I was creating a title about, let's see, who will win the NCAA and women's basketball tournaments. Okay, and then they give you a description text here. So you can put text in, you can change that or just keep the default. Icon is kind of cool. So you click on icon and you're presented with a boatload of potential icons to pick from. And the icon, as you'll see, let's see here. If I pick basketball, you'll see a basketball icon show up to the left of my title. Next up here is address. So the address for my Padlet account is bridgew.padlet.org/eLePage. But then I can determine what's the rest of that web address. So maybe this is NCAA basketball. And it will tell you if something has already been chosen. But in this case, it's, NCAA basketball is available for me because I haven't used that elsewhere. Now I'll come down to wallpaper. So this is where you can have some design fun. You can choose a solid color. You could choose a gradient color. There's textures and patterns that are available that you can pick from. And even pictures. So I don't know if there's anything basketball-wise here, but lots of really cool. This is making me hungry now. I'm ready for lunch. Lots of really cool options to pick from. All right, so I'll go with this one here.
Oh. Paparazzi.
And then we've got, you can choose different fonts, color schemes, attribution. Do you want the author's name displayed above their posts? I probably would do that. Comments. Do you want students to be able to comment on each other's posts? Typically, yes. So I would check that off. And then reactions. So this is pretty wild. For each Padlet post, you can allow students to like each other's posts. If it's I know of an instructor who does, oh gosh, what the heck is that show called? Where you're supposed to present an idea. It's that shark show. What's it called?
Shark Tank.
Shark Tank, thank you. So Shark Tank. So you could do a Shark Tank type exercise where students come up with some different brainstorm ideas, and then you can have them upvote or downvote the top ideas. You could have them give star ratings to posts. And I haven't tried grade yet, but you could essentially give numeric scores to posts. And I don't believe the students will see that. That's just for you. So some different reaction choices there. Then require approval. I don't check this off. It requires a moderator. So basically what that means is every time a student posts, you would have to review the post before allowing it to be seen on the Padlet. Sounds like a lot of work. Maybe there are situations where you need that though. And then filter profanity. It will replace bad words with nice emojis. I haven't really used this one yet, but that's another option for you. So I will now click next up top here, and it says you're all set, post to your heart's content. I can start posting my Padlet. So there's a lot of really cool options there that you can check out. Pretty standard stuff, but fun stuff to play with. I'm going to stop sharing because I know Alex is going to be showing us what the different template options do. I see here a question from Renee. Is there a way to search in the gallery for BSU created Padlets? Ooh, good question, Renee. I haven't tried that yet. I'm doubtful, but I'll have to check that out. So good question. All right, Andrew, is there anything you wanted to add about the options before I hand over to Alex?
Oh, I'm good. I was trying to search in the gallery to see if we could do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Alex, you're welcome to share your screen when you're ready.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. All right, so I'm going to show you some of the Padlets that I have made. And I'm coming at this from not really being, well, I'm not a teacher. So I was trying to imagine like how I could use this to like kind of spark engagement, but I have a theme and it's for Ireland today. So I made a Padlet for every form, and I put at the top what like this example is. So this is an example of Irish sayings, which is an example of Padlet. So I saw that you could use Canvas for a lot of different types of engagement. I know that Andrea had used hers to kind of, create columns of topics and then be able to kind of like almost like play like a puzzle. I don't know if this was the right way to use it, but I think I was just looking at it as like a Post-it. So you can move them all over. And this one's really fun. So you could use it in a form of like connection. So you can connect to a post, and you could choose a post to connect to. So say, for example, I think, this saying relates to this saying, I could just connect it and then a little arrow would go. I find that this would be good for maybe like if you're doing something, well, I'm an English major, so maybe if I'm, choosing an author as my topic, and then I want to have like some authors that maybe inspired this author, or maybe some work that this particular author had written, you can kind of connect them. So I think that that's something that's really fun to do.
There's some cool like concept mapping
Yeah,
activities. I mean, yeah, really cool.
yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my main page. And also from here, you can click made. So these are all the ones that you made. And then the recents are ones that you've also engaged in. So I have some of the ones that Eric has created here, but I just want to look at the ones that I've created. Okay, and so for the next one, this is going to be an example. Sorry, my internet's a little slow. This is an example of the shelf Padlet. I really like this one because it allows for topics at the top. So for example, I just used some points in Irish history towards Ireland's independence. So, you could do anything really, and then you can just add points of information beneath. So you could let your students go into this, and each one of them can add things under the different topics. I made this pretty simple, but I think that this is a really great one to use. And again, this could work for dates. This could work for icebreaker topics. I know that Eric used this for our icebreaker. I think this is the one he used, and I found this to be, I think, one of my favorite formats. So that's that.
Yeah, I think right. That's the one I used for the icebreaker.
Yeah. It's just really interesting to see, like, when I look at the way that you've used it, I'm like, oh, wow, like, I didn't think to use it that way. So I think it's really fun how you can learn different ways to use Padlet. This one's really cute too. So this is the example of the back channel. So this is fun. This is more of like a commenting forum. So I call this, where would you like to visit in Ireland? So it's me and my partner at the Guinness Factory. So, you could just like have your students just have a conversation back and forth. And I think everybody's really used to formats of chat now. Aesthetically, we're so used to communicating on social media platforms that I think Padlet really kind of adheres to that form of communication. And, you just write different things. People can comment, people can like it, people can not like it. And I'm the only one that's commented on this, which is why it all looks the same. But once other people comment on it, I think there would be a differentiation of color with the comment, which is really fun. And this would be a great way to have I feel like your students be able to have just like a place where they can have a topic and then maybe just have a discourse about things. You can also, I think Eric will get into the advanced settings, but there are advanced settings on this to where you can make it so maybe you could approve comments before they go on, depending on what the topic is. And if you find that you need to approve comments before all of your students can see that. All right. So this format is going to be, and it's Carrie Gold, examples of the grid Padlet. So again, this one's pretty simple. I didn't find this to be all that much different than the wall Padlet, but these kind of go in order of when you posted it, and you can, I did it with Irish recipes, and I did links for this one. So if I clicked on this, it would link it, bring you right to the link of the recipe. Wow. So yeah, so this is really fun.
And it looks like you could as instructor could post each of those, and then the students could provide their comments under each one.
Yeah, you could provide the comments, and then you could always go into changing the way that the comments are done, if you want the comments, how you want. So I had the post in ascending order from the last one that was posted, but you can reorganize that and have it be the first one that you posted. And then that would kind of, well, I guess it didn't reorganize it at all, did it? But
This grid Padlet and the one
Yeah.
you showed before, the back channel, look like great opportunities to use Padlet in asynchronous courses.
mm.
Good point. Yep.
So I'll go back to, so maybe that didn't work. But there's another fun one that I really enjoy. So this is the map Padlet. It gives you a map of the world and it allows you to type in a location and drop a little pin. And when you drop that pin, so I just dropped the different counties of Ireland. But if I wanted to put a piece of information about County Donegal, I could have done that. I could go in and edit the post, and then maybe link a picture or a piece of history. You can also link the different points together. Like say you need to use a map to kind of show a trajectory of maybe a journey taken. You could link different points and talk about the journey that was taken when looking at it like geographically. So I think that this is a really great format as well. You can also change, well, here, I'll type in, let's see, just type in Dublin and it will drop a pin for Dublin. And you know, you could do that for anywhere on the planet. And I think that's a really great way. I saw a Padlet used for like 20 best restaurants in San Francisco, and somebody had made a Padlet and, you know, dropped different points around San Francisco and put a little link to restaurants. So this is something you could use personally too for travel. I think it's really great. Let's see. So this is the Stream Padlet. This one I think is very clean and very linear. This is really good if you want students to do like blog entries or journals. I used it to just kind of link articles for different Irish writers and poets. So each one of these would bring you out to an article written about any one of these people. But it's a really great option to keep it really nice, neat, and clean. And yeah, you can have your students go in and comment or build their own blogs, or again, you could like this one. I don't think this one offers comments, but you could definitely like, there's a voting option too, which is really fun. So you could maybe even use a poll.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then I think I have one last one. Okay, I had made this one a while ago, but this kind of talks about, this is really great if you're talking about timeline or like a chronological piece of information. I know Erica just showed one that used timeline for solar systems, but it's great to just scroll. And you could also, this is a history of Rome. You can just kind of like drag it to, I think if you don't want this to, so you can kind of flip them around. It's very user friendly. And again, like you could even link like a video if you want to show your students a video on a piece of information.
And Alex,
yes.
I was going to say, in terms of the timeline, like if you need to put dates in there, you can't put the dates on the timeline bar itself, but you can put them in the Padlet posts.
You could put them within the Padlet posts. Yeah, exactly. So you have to organize it yourself in that way. Yeah. Because you also don't just have to use it as a timeline, which I really like. If you just want to have it, I was looking at the gallery post earlier, there was an option for the timeline format, and somebody had used like the evolution of the video game FIFA and the evolution of like the way that the visuals have progressed. And so you can just kind of scroll and like use it for evolution, like aesthetically as well. I think it'd be great for like art history classes or any art classes, really. Students could post their own pictures. Yeah, so those are the different formats of Padlet. Oh, actually, I didn't show you this one. This one is Wall. This is the most basic one. I think this one's good. It kind of like organizes things in like a brick wall. You could use this for anything. You could ask questions and have students comment. And if you find, you can't move these around, they're kind of just gonna build on top of one another as a brick wall. But I feel like this kind of is an all-encompassing Padlet and the most simple one to start off with. You could also, change these topics and have questions here, have links out to things. And if you find like, oh, maybe I don't particularly like this Padlet, you can change the format. So if you want to like move things freely, you could easily change this format and transition it over to, say, the Canvas format. That way you can have free expression to move the different boxes.
Kind of reminds me of Pinterest.
Yeah,
Like
it does
Pinterest layout. Yeah.
It is kind of like Pinterest. Yeah, it's a really great format to just share ideas. I was telling my my partner last night, I'm like, we should use this to share. We love to cook, like to share recipes with each other, and just ideas, or like for travel. It's really great to share if you are going to go on a trip with friends, and you kind of have like a little dream board of places you want to go. So yeah, I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
That's great, Alex.
Thank you.
So I see a few questions here. Scott Guild was asking, how did you create the columns? I think that was in reference to the shelf one. So as the instructor, like, how did you create those? And I think there's just basically just a plus.
Yeah.
There's just a plus button there that you click on. So kind of similar to the students responding. As the instructor, you just see a plus button, you click on it, and then you can put your topics, your main topics for your shelf there.
Exactly, and then build underneath it for each piece of information for the topic. Yeah.
And then Judith asked, is there a way to ask quiz questions without the class seeing previous answers? I wonder if this, so I'm going to demonstrate right now, like, because some folks were asking some good questions about who has access. How do you share these things out? Let me share my screen with you, and I'll just show you what those options are, and then how you can bring it into Blackboard. All right. So let's see here. Okay. So let's say I've created this new Padlet activity and I want to share this out with my students. Well, in the upper right-hand corner here, there's a share button. And that's going to present you with a number of different options. One option is invite members. And so by invite members, I can invite specific people who will have access to my Padlet. Obviously, if you're teaching a class with 20 students, or you're teaching 5 classes with 20 students or 30 students, that's going to be a bit cumbersome to manage. But there is an ability here to add specific people. And then privacy. So right now it's set up that the Padlet is hidden from the public, which basically I believe means that they can't search for it through that Padlet gallery. But you can change your privacy option. So if I go to change privacy, you'll see here that you've got private, which means keep the Padlet hidden from the public. Even if someone manages to get to it, they should not be able to access it. I don't really know what that means. They can get to it, but can't access it. But it sounds like they can't do anything with it. There's password, which means you can password protect your Padlet and say, all right, well, my password is going to be, if I'm teaching my COM 298 course, maybe it's COM 298, and I let all my students know to access the Padlet, you need COM 298 as the password. Secret is the default. So keep the Padlet hidden from the public. If I share it with someone, basically meaning if I'm sharing the web address to my Padlet, then they should be able to access it. Otherwise, people can't find it unless I share that web address. And then there's org-wide, which is keep the Padlet hidden from the public, let anyone from Bridgewater State University access this Padlet. So I think that means basically anybody who has a license through Bridgewater State can access it. Unfortunately, we have limited licenses. They're faculty librarian only. So, students, they're creating free accounts, but they're really not part of our license. So I wouldn't use that option there because that's going to restrict your students from being able to access it. And then visitor permissions. So they get to your Padlet, what can they do? Can they just read posts? Can they add posts? Can they edit posts? I typically just keep the default here as of write. They can view and add posts, but they can't edit and approve if you're doing moderation. They can't edit and approve other posts. They can't delete their classmates' posts. So I usually just keep it as can write.
So if you want just to share between you and your students, would that be under private or secret?
I would do, let's see here. I would do it as secret.
That means the students would be able to access it.
They'd be able to access it, and I just share that link with them.
Okay.
You know, as long as they have the link, they can get to it and access it and add content to it.
Okay.
And there are a few more options here for saving. So one is, you know, if you want to just share the link with them, you can certainly do that. If you're into doing QR codes, which I won't get into because we don't have enough time, but you could share a QR code to your Padlet. I'm going to share with you embed in your blog or your website, because that's where the Blackboard piece really comes in handy. So I'm going to click on embed in your blog or website. And it's got all of this fancy HTML code here. You don't have to know what this all means. All you got to do is know that you've got to click this copy button. So I click copy. So once again, that's embed, share, embed, and then copy. And now if I go into Blackboard, oops, let me see here. All right, so now I'm in Blackboard. And let's say I go to the Getting Started section of this Blackboard course site. I'm going to go to Build Content, create a new item. So just like you would to, you know, upload a syllabus or, you know, do most anything in Blackboard, right? Build Content item. And let's say I was doing an icebreaker activity. So I could say icebreaker Padlet. And now here's the key part. So on your content editor here, you're going to look for this source code. It's basically a left arrow and a right arrow. And clicking on this button allows you to post, basically copy and paste in that code, that HTML code we just saw. I just realized that, let me do stop share for a second. It's gonna create a pop-up window and you're not gonna see that pop-up window. So let me stop sharing for one moment. I'm gonna reshare my entire desktop. There we go. Okay, now let me try that again. You should be able to see the pop-up window. And now I can do paste. And it's going to paste all that text in. And I just click save. And there's my Padlet. It's now embedded in my Blackboard post. So I can come down and click submit. And then when your students come into your course site, there's the Padlet. They don't have to go to an outside web address to access it. They can start posting right away by clicking this plus symbol down here for this particular Padlet. So really, really cool way to use Padlet within Blackboard. It's also nice because it kind of adds some color and vibrancy to your Blackboard course site, right? So that's how you can add a Padlet in Blackboard. Cool, thanks Renee. Let's see, was there anything else I wanted to say about the share piece? I think that was it. So I'll just mention that. So if you want to use Padlet, you want to use our license. I think we purchased roughly 100 faculty librarian licenses. So we've got like roughly 20 folks using it right now, 20, 30. So we still have plenty of licenses for faculty librarians to use. So what you want to do is email us at ttc@bridgew.edu and just say, I'd like to request a Padlet license. And then what I will do is I will establish your Padlet license. You'll get an email. And then you can just review that email and then you can get started. And the great thing is you don't have to create an account. You'll be able to log in using your Bridgewater State username and password, which is wonderful. So we have single sign-on, it's called, allows us to do that. You'll notice when you go to Padlet and you go to log in, one of the options you'll see is Microsoft. That's where you click on that Microsoft login. That's what's going to get you to be able to type in your Bridgewater username and password. So awesome. Thank you, Andrea. So that's how you can get a Padlet license. And let's see here. Last thing I wanted to share with you is just a little interactive Padlet. I'm going to put this in the chat. And basically, it's just asking you folks, I mean, how could you envision using Padlet in your own teaching or other activities? And you'll see when you go to this Padlet, you'll see the plus symbol in the lower right-hand corner, and post whatever comes to mind. And meanwhile, while you're doing that, if you have more questions for us, please holler. We're glad to answer.
Eric, Judith wants to know if we can sync the private Padlet with the BSU. And I know we can because I did that, but I don't remember how I did that. Did it happen automatically? I cannot remember.
Sync the.
Cindy, I think you remember I asked to match my private account. You can match, but the content you cannot carry on.
You can, I'm sorry.
You cannot. If you have a private account, you can merge with the BSU account, but the content is still leaving your private account.
Oh, so there is a great question. So yes,
Yeah.
so if you did have a public,
Yeah.
a free account, right? If you've got a free account, there is a way to merge the content, or they use the term import. So there is a way to import your content from your free account into your new BSU licensed account.
But Mike, I tested, you can merge the two accounts in one account, but the content is still leaving your private account, like Judy asked. You cannot carry on. It's still in your you can see the content in the separate account. You create the content in your previous account, they still remain in the private account. They never carry on in the new BSU account.
It does require some additional action where you
Yeah.
have to do an import process.
Thank you.
But you can bring them over. It's just one at a time. So given if you're using the free account, you probably only have 3 Padlets, so it won't take you too long. But yeah, so there is a process there of doing the imports. So
Okay,
I'm just looking at what folks are posting here. Some cool stuff. Ticket to leave. Yeah, that's a great way to use it.
Great idea. Mm-hmm.
Yes, love the timeline concept too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the others.
Yeah, asking students, right? Like what are you having difficulties with? And then they can post anonymously if you'd like on the Padlet. Absolutely.
I heard of someone who used Padlet for like a wellness check-in, and I wish I had a copy of it. I'm going to ask her if I can get access to it. But she had like a smiley face, a straight face, and a frown face, and students anonymously posted where they were, and she encouraged anyone who was like feeling in a difficult place or overwhelmed with the course to please reach out to her. But she said that it really made such a difference in the connections that she felt with students doing that. But again, she had everyone post anonymously for that one. I thought that was
makes a lot of sense. That's great. Awesome. Well, thank you, folks. I mean, did you anything else we wanted to add, Alex or Andrea?
I would just encourage you to try it. An idea for a way to try it. Jump in, give it a shot. Tell your students it's the first time we're using Padlet today with me, so they may be experts. They may have used it in other classes, and they can help you. And most of them are very happy to do that. But I just encourage you to give it a try.
Absolutely. Awesome. It's really fun. It's a great way to keep students engaged. So great. Well, please contact us at ttc@bridgew.edu if you've got any questions about Padlet, or if you just want to use Padlet, and we're glad to give you a hand. But thanks for the time today.
Yeah, quick shout out for tomorrow.
Thank you.
At 1 o'clock tomorrow, we've got Mike Zimmerman and Andres Montenegro who are doing a session on innovative techniques for pedagogy. I think I'm saying that correctly, but innovative pedagogy tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Yep, should be good. Great. Well, you folks have a
Thank you.
terrific rest of your St. Padlet's Day.
Yeah,
Thanks, everyone.
thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Hi.
Bye.